Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Essentra Credit Union.
Happy New Year and welcome to this episode of Real Conversations. Well, it's a new year and many of us are setting ambitious goals, not just for personal growth, but for our wallets too. Tim Stinson talked with Alvaro Macias from Essentra Credit Union about how you can get a good grasp on your finances with just a piece of paper and a pen.
Happy New Year, everyone. It's a new year. And with New Year's coming around, you know what always happens? We always have some New Year resolutions. Whether it's health, whether it's, financial, it may be, I need to lose a little bit of this weight right here, okay, besides health. But today we're going to have a conversation about financial. Today we have the privilege of talking to a good friend of mine who is with Essentra Credit Union. We have with us Alvaro Macias. And Alvaro Macias is a VP of Community Development here at Essentra Credit Union. So we're just going to try to have a conversation about, what moving forward, if I do want to have that financial stability this year, that's my New Year's resolution, setting those goals. And many people set goals, as part of their New Year's resolutions we're talking about. What are some of the practical and realistic financial goals individuals should consider for this year?
Thank you, Tim. The new year offers us a fresh start, but realistically, you can do this at any time of the year, any time in your life. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what situation you're on. We can always look at improving our financial situation. But as you mentioned, there could be new challenges. Whether it's inflation, we've seen it go up and down with our groceries, gas prices, they've gone up and down. So this is more of a reason why you want to make sure that you take control over your finances, because we've seen a lot of unpredictability just in the last couple years. So again, whether it's just because of the new year or because we have experienced these uncertainties, taking control over your finances is something that we should all strive for. And really, when it comes to making practical changes, the biggest difference is to actually do something about it. Mm-hmm. We can talk about it, just like we talk about, I'm going to go to the gym and work out, do more of this. It might be hard sometimes. You might fall off, but you can always give back and reset and put in place practical practices so that you are taking control over your finances.
Okay. I know a lot of people talk about, I need to create a budget. I got to get on budget. I hear that throughout the whole year and things, trying to get on budget and stick to budget and things. Can you walk us through, someone new to budgeting? How can they get started, and how can they stay consistent with it?
Absolutely. Really, creating a budget is very simple. The hard part is that people don't sit down and do it. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. You may talk about it, and you may talk about trying to save money. You may talk about how high prices might be. But if you don't sit down and figure out how much you're spending each month and how much money's coming in and how much should be left over, you're never going to know where your finances are at the end of the month. So a budget, again, it's very simple. All you have to do is add up all your expenses. Mm-hmm. So for instance, your rent or mortgage, your utilities, your cell phone bill. Do you have any streaming services, right? Whether it's music services, TV services, add all of them up. And even items such as, say, you smoke, you buy cigarettes. Mm-hmm. Make sure you put all that stuff there. You buy clothes, you buy designer clothes. Put that stuff on your monthly expenses. You can look back at your statements, whether you pay with a credit card or a debit card, and see how much you're spending on certain categories, and find out how much you're actually spending on every single one of those items. And then you'll get a number of how much you're actually spending. But the key is to be honest with yourself. You don't want to say, well, I wish I didn't spend this money on, say, cigarettes or alcohol or eating out, mm-hmm. right? Be honest, put that number, because it's a realistic look at what you spend.
That's true. I think, and not to cut you off, but a lot of people, like you're saying, eating out. A lot of people don't realize sometimes how much they do go out or whether it's fine dining or medium dining, or if I'm running to a fast food place, I'm not thinking that. And from what I'm hearing, look at everything, not just some of the bigger major purchases, but look at everything is what you're saying people need to do.
Absolutely. You got to add it up. You got to write it down. And I'm not saying restrict yourself at this point. I'm just saying just make an assessment of where your money's going.
Okay.
With that, you get the number of how much you spend every month. Now, it might differ depending on the holidays or maybe other large bills that come at different times of the year. But you can also look back month by month on your bank statements or on your apps to see, your banking app, to see how much you spend each month. And you can create an average. So you can have an average of how much you spend each month. And that number, you can subtract it from your earnings, because all of us usually know how much we make every paycheck. And you can subtract how much you spend from your earnings. And that should give you an amount that you should have left over. And what happens is when you see that number, usually you say, wait a second, where's that money going?
Where's it? Right.
So that's what usually happens.
And it's not even, whatever income level. It doesn't matter if you're on the top end, if you're in the middle or whatever, because I know some people say, well, I don't make enough income, so why should I even put myself on a budget? But it's important no matter where you're at on that spectrum.
Absolutely. You can have a lot of money and still make just spontaneous decisions about money that are going to keep you just living paycheck to paycheck. So it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you have these bad money habits that keep you from saving, from paying down debt, from whatever your goals are, these money habits will not change. So it's important to figure out your number and then put a plan into action. So aside from the budgeting, you also want to give yourself some goals so that you can aim for something, whether it's buying a house, a car, or just creating an emergency savings plan.
You hit it on the head. Creating that emergency savings plan. I got my budget down. I have my budget laid out. I see what I'm bringing in, what's going out, but I do want to build that savings and things for emergencies, because emergencies come up no matter what it is. If I have an older car, something happens with the car, I got to put out money for that. Something breaks in the house, I got to get that fixed. What are some ways where we can kind of work that into the budget as well? How our thought process on that?
Yes. So first, you got to do your budget to figure out that number that should be left over, right? Now, with that amount, you can start putting that towards savings. Now, you can do it in a couple different ways. If you feel like, say, it's $300 that you should have left over at the end of the month, right? And you know that you don't have that money left over. Once you do your budget, give yourself a little wiggle room. Maybe do an automatic transfer every month to a savings account where you take $200 and put it there. Just make sure you keep it separate from your checking. You can give yourself a cushion there in case you do have unexpected expenses from your checking account, but you have money that you have to transfer back into your checking account to tap into it. So use technology to transfer money out. Don't make it as easy as possible to use your debit card and use it. You have to do some work to maybe make a transfer. That's one way of making sure that you keep that separate, or maybe have a separate bank account where you set up your direct deposit from your workplace by having just that amount go to a separate bank account, and one that you might not even have a debit card, one that you have to go in person to get the money. That's another option as well, because it does make it a little more difficult to get that money. But if you truly do need it, you can always go and retrieve it. So those are some options of keeping that money separate and not as easily accessible.
Okay. Let's talk about, there's viewers out there that is trying to manage some debt, and they're trying, I'm trying to manage debt. I want to pay this down, trying to build the budget, trying to save. What's your advice? And yet, I think, through this conversation, you touched on a little bit of how I could possibly, work that debt into my financial stability. But any other keys on that?
Yeah, when it comes to debt, there's different strategies you can utilize, whether it's by reducing your interest. Say you have high interest credit card debt. You can always get a loan consolidation with a lower interest that basically brings down your interest rate. So if you have a credit card that, say, is 27% or 29% APR, you can get a signature loan for, say, 9 or 10%, maybe 12%. but you're still saving some money just on the interest rate, just by taking this debt and moving it to this lower interest debt. Some credit cards offer credit balance transfers as well, and they will do an introductory period where it might be 0% if you have preferred credit. So there's different financial vehicles you can use, but ideally you want to put a dent into the debt. So say you do get a tax refund every year. Make sure that if you do have debt, allocate some of that to make a big dent. You might not be able to take care of it all, but if you say, you know what, in 3 years I'm going to take care of this debt, you could do it as such, or do a mixture of both, right? Consolidate, lower your interest, put a dent into some of that debt, or maybe say you get a bonus, or maybe you sell some items on the marketplace online. Use some of that money to tackle some of that debt.
But what kind of resources are available, at credit unions, banks, or other financial institutions that could help me move forward with this?
Well, there's so many resources out there. When it comes to personal finance, everybody's got a different financial pain. So figure out what it is that you have issues with. Is it managing money? Is it just maybe earning? Maybe you need to update that resume and get a better paying job, right? Or maybe you need a little side job, or whatever the case may be. It's about taking control, right? But you can easily just talk to any financial institution. You can talk to our staff pertaining to your financial pains. We can assist. But you can also be empowered knowing that there's information out there. And just about every financial institution has some sort of tools that can assist their customers or members. At Essentra, those who have digital banking, they have access to Savvy Money, which is a service that gives you your credit score and your full credit report. So those that are interested in improving their credit, or maybe just establishing credit, have access to the tool that shows them where they're at. It breaks down your credit into the 5 different areas of your credit. It tells you what you're doing good at, where are some areas of improvement, and it tells you what are the things you can do to improve in these areas of your credit. So that's a great tool for those who are trying to improve their credit or establish credit. But there's also so many other tools on there. Say you are credit challenged. You don't have the best credit for whatever reason. A lot of times people don't have a lot of options. They might go to predatory lenders if they are in a pinch and they do need access to credit. Well, at Essentra, we also have a product called Cash Now. So if you have our digital banking, you've been a member with us 90 days, and you've had your direct deposit with us for 60 days, it actually makes a decision on giving you a loan from the app based on your deposit history, not on your credit score. So that's a great incentive for those who don't have the best credit and want to improve it and need some money now, where they can tap into it without having credit to get the loan, but they have a little history with us. And the loans actually help them improve the credit because those are reported to credit agencies. So you do get access to some financing when you don't have the best credit.
Okay. Great information. Anything you need to leave our audience with that we did not touch on that can help them be better financial, be stable with their financial this year?
Yeah, I would say just take an honest look at your expenses and sit down, take action. You don't have to make it too complicated. You don't need a spreadsheet. You don't need to pay for a service or an app. You don't need a financial advisor. You need a pencil and a notepad. With a pencil and a notepad, you can just add it all up. Start with your budget. That's one thing you can just start with. And then next page, do it the next month and do it again and again. Challenge yourself to keep up with it every couple of weeks just to see where your budget is. And once you do that for 6 months to a year, you are going to know exactly where every penny is going, every dollar, and you're going to be so in control of your finances. It's a very empowering situation you're in. The moment that you realize that you know where your money is going, and you know that, you know what, I already spent enough for going out to the restaurants this month. I think I'll sit this one out and we'll just cook something at the house. But next week, I know I'll be able to go out. It's just a very empowering feeling. And it's not about restricting yourself. It's about managing your finances. And this goes for anybody, no matter how much money you make, no matter what lifestyle you live, you can make these changes. And again, you're going to benefit from it, and those around you are going to benefit from it.
So just starting the process, sticking with it, and really not being afraid, not being scared of it.
Absolutely.
Feeling good about it. Well, Alvaro, I appreciate your time, and I think you shared a lot of great information here with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Whether it's climbing the corporate ladder, starting a new venture, or pursuing a passion project, Joshua Blount spoke with Ladrina Wilson from reimagined Consulting about strategies for success.
I'm here with Ladrina Wilson, who is the CEO and founder of reimagined Consulting. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on the show.
That's great to hear. Welcome to our show, and we're definitely great to have you. Thankful to have you, actually. And, we're going to talk a little bit of business here. Sure. My first question is, how do you at reimagined Consulting help organizations and individuals reach their career goals?
Yeah, so it can take many different forms. We work with companies who are looking to develop their employees, but we also work with individuals who reach directly out to us who are looking for professional development. So when I think about career development, I think of it as a very personal experience. So we offer one-on-one coaching. We do some group coaching as well, but generally speaking, the one-on-one coaching is to help that person not just develop in their career, but more specifically develop in their leadership. So occasionally we'll have people who seek out the support on their own, but a lot of times we'll have companies that reach out and say, hey, we've got a handful of folks on our team that we want to invest in to help them level up and enhance their leadership skills.
And, the next question is, what does that process look like for someone coming to you all for that help, whether that's an individual or an organization saying, hey, I got a group of people, as you mentioned, how long does it take? And, what does that really look like,
Yeah, so I think what might be best for me to describe is the coaching dynamic and the coaching relationship. So when we work with individuals, I refer to it as situational coaching. Sometimes we are tackling a right now issue that they may have with employees, with colleagues, or even just within themselves and how they want to handle themselves in the workplace. So I always start off each of the meetings with what's on your mind, as do my colleagues who are doing coaching. But then from there, at the onset of the engagement, we conduct what's called a DISC inventory. Are you familiar with that? Okay, so the DISC inventory, it's okay. A lot of people aren't. The DISC inventory is like a personality typology assessment that you can take. And what it allows me to do is kind of look at the tendencies, habits, and characteristics of a person. We do that, and we talk a little bit about how maybe they're perceived by other people and how they interact with other people to see if the DISC assessment is accurate. But then we also have an internal assessment that we do where we ask people, like, what is it that you want to work on? And a lot of times people think about coaching like, why would you need, why would you need a coach? Or, well, for me, when you are doing, even when you're really good at something, I do a lot of sports analogies because I'm a former athlete. I think about it, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, they're going to get shots up before every game. They're going to get tons and tons of shots up, and it's the reps. Well, in leadership, you need to still be making refinements to grow and advance yourself, and also to be able to connect with people. And so that's what coaching is about. It doesn't mean that you're at a deficit if you choose to have a coach. It means you're refining and improving and trying to reach your next level.
And, with that kind of coaching, I'm sure there are some challenges you may or may not run into when it comes to like coaching different individuals or maybe organizations.
Yeah. So I think it kind of depends on the individual and what they aspire to do. So if I always encourage people, if they are seeking out a coach or a coaching relationship, that they know what they want to accomplish in the relationship. So if you go into it with a high degree of uncertainty and you're like, I just know I need something, probably want to do a little bit more soul searching because it is an investment, right? And you should be making a wise investment that's to some degree calculated. So we really want to work with people who maybe aren't trying to find what what their next job is or what they want to do with themselves, right? Like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I'm probably not the best coach for that in terms of the style that we use. We really are looking to work with people who say, hey, I am right now in this position. Maybe I'm a supervisor, maybe I'm a manager, but I know I'm capable of more, and I want to be strategic about taking that next step, whether it's in my existing organization or another company. On the flip side of that, with organizations, when you are looking for a coach, we always encourage you to think about who's that talent that maybe has some untapped potential? Who is that talent that's shown promise? Maybe you don't have the time or resources to do the modeling and to the mentorship that they need. So you invest in them and have other people external to the organization help them level up. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And that actually brings me to my next question. I know one of your specialties is diversity, equity, and inclusion,
Yeah.
right? So, when you talk about that, getting more people involved who may just have that untapped potential that you mentioned.
Right.
With that just being said, what is your method to, get more organizations to look in that direction and maybe giving those people those opportunities to get a chance to become that next supervisor or become that next vice president or even CEO?
Yeah. So I think it's really important to note that we are in an environment currently where even just those 3 letters, DE&I, or those words, diversity, equity, inclusion, are hyper politicized and quite frankly, very misunderstood. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are 3 distinct principles that are interrelated and happen, to some degree, happen no matter what. So case in point, diversity. That could be language, it could be ability, it could be background, it could be skin color, it could be religion, right? It takes many different forms. Our community around us is more diverse than it was 10 years ago, more diverse than it was the 10 years before that, and we could keep going. And 10 years from now, it's gonna be even more diverse than it is today. So diversity is not something, to me, that should be problematic. It just is. It's just a reality, right? People are changing. The demographics are changing. As it relates to inclusion, I think it's really important to be deliberate. I think there are a lot of people who are well-intentioned but not trained in how to practice inclusive practices. So sometimes we don't always, organizations or companies and even individuals, don't always know how to work with people who are different than them. And that's essentially what we try to help people get better at, companies and individuals. How can you bridge the gap of understanding, build relationships with people who are different than you? Because at the end of the day, as the community changes, those are going to be the same people. The hiring pool is going to change as well, right? Or as it should. The other piece is your customer base is going to change. And so being prepared to meet the needs of a dynamic audience or a diverse audience is something every organization should be willing to do, and it doesn't have to be about politics. So what we do is we try to work with companies who say that they want to be prepared and take their next level up to serve a dynamic community. We try to give them the principles and the practices around how to live out that value or live out that goal. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. I guess like kind of diving more into the inclusive part of it, when you come across a company who I guess has is looking for this mind shift of, being more inclusive and everything. Is that can that be challenging sometimes, or is there certain kind of methods you use to make sure you give a clear understanding as to what goal they want to, achieve?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So I think, can it be challenging? Absolutely, right? It's anything with politics can be challenging. And really people can be challenging too. So when you're dealing with something that's kind of politicized and you're dealing with the people who have different ideology, yeah, there are people who are uncomfortable having conversations like how we're having that really shouldn't be about being uncomfortable. It's just seeking understanding and having an open mind. That said, I go through a rigorous process with my clients to evaluate whether or not they're actually at the level where they need to be to have some of these conversations. So are you at a certain maturity in your organizational development to have real conversations, to have honest conversations, to talk about the lived experiences of people who are within the 4 walls of the organization or remote or however they work and connect to the organization. So I evaluate that. There are people who I recognize I'm probably not the good fit for, or Iman is not a good fit for, and I will refer them if they're not at that place where they're ready to have real conversations, right? Yes. I also think that recognizing that an organization needs to be prepared to recognize there's more than one right way to do things, and have an open mind to considering how they might approach their employee engagement different than how they have in the past, right? So those are things that I evaluate. The other thing that we do through our process to help effectuate change is we customize everything. So we co-construct, meaning I will listen to what my clients' needs are. They will share with me some of the things that are occurring within the company, and then we customize a program based on their right now needs. and where they want to go. So I'm usually I'm like lockstep with my clients in terms of developing the curriculum that is suited for them. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And really, the best part about all this is at the end of the day, we find out we're a lot more similar than we are different, but also holding space for just celebrating our differences and knowing that different doesn't have to be deficient. It's just different, right? Mm-hmm. So the fact that I wake up in the morning and I live my life as a Black girl doesn't have to be problematic. It can also be celebrated too. No different than someone else might have an Irish identity or might have a different religious background. These are all things that make us different. They don't mean that we have an inherent problem with each other. Mm-hmm. But my lived experience may also make me have different experiences than you have. And just because you haven't had that experience in your employment or at your job or as you've tried to grow in your career doesn't mean that my experience isn't real, right? And so it's just trying to help people. We do a lot of storytelling, connecting to people's humanness and their lived experiences.
Okay, so just kind of shifting gears a little bit here. How long have Iman Consulting been around, and how many organizations and individuals have you all worked with up until this point, or just worked with this year?
Oh gosh, well, we're in a new year, so that's interesting that you asked that because we just sent out like greeting cards, around the holidays and whatnot. I started the business full time. We flipped the website live December 31st of 2020, and then went full-time April of 2021. And so we're about 4 years old, but I will say that this work has been happening in the community through the previous leadership roles that I've had in the community in kind. Like I was already showing up and doing speaking engagements. I was coaching or mentoring people, whether they were on my team or not. So it's been happening for a really long time, but formally as Iman Consulting for 4 years. We've served probably, 150 different clients over the course of the last 4 years. I've been very fortunate to have a lot of repeat business as well, but we've worked with folks in DC, in Charlotte, North Carolina, in Austin, Texas. We are working pretty actively right now in Nashville, Tennessee. So the bulk of the work is here in the Quad Cities area and surrounding region, but I'm enjoying relationships across the country.
Okay, and then if an organization or individual wants to reach out to you, how would they go about doing that and getting set up with you and going through your process?
Sure. So of course you can go to the website and just contact us that way. You can also find us on all social media channels. There are a number of people who just reach out to me directly as well, but I love to let people know we have a few other people on our team who are doing work here in this community as well. So you may work with me, you may work with other contractors that I have on my team or other colleagues that are full-time employees who are running projects. So while we do go in and do coaching and we do education and training, we have some clients that we have 2 and 3 year relationships with where we're doing strategic plans and helping them execute. So I have other staff members. It's not just Ladrina anymore as it was 4 years ago. And I think you'll see more people involved here shortly because we are growing.
And, based on your expertise in this field, my other question is, for someone who is, again, currently in like a leadership role, what advice can you give them to consider before making that next jump to that next leadership role? What things should they ask themselves, and what should they consider, or, to know that they're actually ready to make that bigger jump?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things to consider. One, I think it's really important to know that you're aligned with the organization that you work in. That's value alignment, the flexibility, compensation, the things that you need are, hopefully they're available where you're at, and not be afraid to look elsewhere if they aren't. Yes, you usually have to pay your dues in organizations, but also you need a good sense of what you need in a job. So if you need financial security, if you need autonomy or freedom and flexibility, you need to weigh out, you need to know in your soul, searching what's most important to you before you take on the next leadership opportunity. The other thing that's really important is doing the work of knowing how you show up, being self-aware, and thinking about how you manage relationships. If there's any opportunity, I am constantly looking at myself. And when I'm so in the weeds and I can't see me for who I am, I have friends that I call and I say, hey, when I handled this way, do you think that did I show up in the right way? And being open to feedback. Like, you need to be open-minded that you will have some things you need to tweak as you ascend your career. And don't just jump for the sake of jumping. It needs to be the right fit. The last thing that I would say, and when I say this, I'm speaking specifically to, more specifically to women. You don't have to have every single box checked to be ready for the next opportunity. Sure, you should have many of them checked, but there will be some things that you learn along the way. And so don't be afraid to take the leap, knowing that you will have hopefully a team of people around you that will fill some of those gaps if you do have some gaps before you take that next leadership position. Some people think they have to have everything, whether it's the right credentials, the right experiences. They look at that job description and they're like, oh, I haven't done this one thing before. So what? You'll get to learn how to do it. And believe in yourself. Just believe in yourself and know that you're ready.
Okay. And then I just got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
So again, going back to the diversity aspect, are you know, how you said things change like 10 years. So with that just being said, are you seeing more, African Americans being in those leadership roles and, serving as that example of leading companies and, things like that?
Honestly, here in the Quad Cities, I haven't seen that shift. And I think that it's a tremendous opportunity. But I think what we do here in the Quad Cities is we know who we know. And we don't do the work, meaning companies that are looking for diverse talent don't know how to, or maybe aren't willing to do the work of expanding their networks so that they can have other people that are part of their pool that they are connected to, that they see promise and potential in. I do think we have programs that are supported by some of the larger companies in the area to help grow leadership skills of people who come from diverse backgrounds, racial and ethnically diverse backgrounds. But I think there's still work to do, if that makes sense. And so it's one thing to invest dollars in a program in hopes that diverse talent will go through it. And it's another thing to be deliberate about how you cultivate the talent that's already within your organization, that have either shown promise, maybe have an interesting background. Case in point, for me, I don't worry as much about what degree a person has. Well, that looks... My candidate pool begins to look different because I know that there are disparities in educational outcomes, right? You have a master's degree. I have a doctorate degree. There are fewer people of color and Black people who have those types of degrees. Well, if I have such rigid credentialing that's required in a position, I need to be looking at the job to say, does it really require that? Or do I need someone who has the problem-solving skills, the critical thinking skills, the tenacity, the strong work ethic and history in their work, in their work history that shows that they've got stick-to-itiveness, right? It's not a word. But those are the characteristics that you need to look for if you are going to hire diverse talent. But people usually go to their default, which is, I want the person with the highest credentials or the most well-known or kind of that trusted messenger within the community.
Okay. And then, just kind of putting a bow on everything, what do you value the most when it comes to what you do at Iman Consulting and just career development and everything?
I have to say what I love. That's hard to say, actually. I was going to say something off the top of my head, but I'm like, ooh, I love this too. First and foremost, I love entrepreneurship. It can be really scary. So if there are any people out there that are looking to, maybe you have a side hustle and you're ready to make it your main hustle, I work with people like that all the time that are trying to figure out how to make that leap. You have to believe in yourself. I was scared. I do things in courage all the time. Like, I'm not this fearless person. Like, I still have things that I'm certainly more confident, but I still get nervous. Is this going to work when I try this? Are they going to want to work with me? But you do it anyway. So one thing I will say is I love just having the autonomy and the freedom of entrepreneurship. It does come with risk, but fortunately it has worked out for me. The other thing that I love about what I do, outside of being available to my family in a way that I've been able to be as an entrepreneur, I love meeting new people. I do the same work every day, but because I work with different industries, it looks different. And so I love the magic of going into an organization, being able to give them feedback, see where their potential is, and then helping them get there. I like doing it on an individual level, but I really love going in an organization and being able to do that. So that's what I would say I love most. And, you know, part of this work has created an opportunity that we'll launch on April 12th. We're starting a nonprofit. It's called GLOW, Growing, Leading, and Owning the Win. Part of why we're doing that is because we don't have the capacity to take everybody. I get people who are like, hey, can I pick your brain? Or I just have this really quick question. I'm thinking about this job and I want to be able to help people, but I find that women are calling me more than male counterparts. And so we're going to have a conference where we bring a group of powerhouse women together and we're going to pick each other's brains. And we're going to form a network after that where we are going to invest in people in their professional development, in their career development. And so if I wasn't doing the work of Iman in the way that I've been doing it, I'm not sure that GLOW comes to life. And so I think there's an energy behind seeing people are desperately wanting to do better and they are willing to invest in themselves. And that gives me a lot of hope for what the community looks like in the future.
Okay. Well, I really enjoyed this real conversation, Ladrina. Thank you for joining us.
With the new year comes new opportunities to transform our health. From meal prepping to finding the right workout routine, Kayla Page sat down with a certified personal trainer to discuss the hardest part, how to get started.
Joining me for this segment of Real Conversations is Coach Coop with Accomplished Goals Fitness. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. So for 2025, we are talking about New Year's resolutions and specifically around the topic of health and wellness,
That's right.
in which you have a ton of expertise in. Tell me more about your story and just kind of what got you into health and wellness overall.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've always been into health and wellness, right? So I was that kid, 5, 6 years old, doing the push-ups, like, Mama, look at my muscles. So it's like always been a thing of mine. And I think what really skyrocketed is when I got to high school, I took a weightlifting class, right? And I really learned like the concept of building muscle, eating better. And it was just like something I was super passionate about already. So going from there, I think what really like made me realize I wanted a career in it was when I went off to the Army. We learned about physical fitness in all aspects, recovery, and I just thought it was like mind-blowing stuff, really interested in it. And I was put in a position to be basically the person in charge of getting our unit physically ready. So I was essentially a personal trainer for an Army. So doing that, I had to take different classes. I learned about how to get people to run better, do better push-ups, sit-ups, and all that. That's the physical fitness test. And it was just something I wanted to stick with, right? So post-Army, I continued to do it in the civilian world. And it's just a passion of mine. I just really enjoy health and wellness.
So going from high school to the Army, so you just say you've kind of found your passion kind of within that, right?
Yes.
So then for someone who wanted to start out their fitness lifestyle, and then we've got all these examples here of food prep and kind of what that lifestyle will overall look like to start, where should they know to just get started?
Yes, I love this question. So one thing people should realize is, one, it takes longer than you think. And then two, you want to stack up the small wins. Right, so everyone wants to lose 30, 40, 50 pounds. I've been getting messages for weeks about that, you know. But the thing is, everyone wants to lose it by tomorrow, right? They're not trying to do the long game, and that's the game, the long game. No one loses 30 pounds in one day, right? So I say, right, I wish. But I'll be out of a job. So, but you have to stack the small wins. You know, small wins are, all right, I'm going to go on a walk over my lunch break. You went on a walk. That's a huge victory if you haven't been doing that. Right, I want to eat more vegetables. You ate vegetables at a meal. That's a big victory. So stacking on small wins is what really gets you to those long-term weight loss goals and everything that people want to accomplish.
Absolutely.
It just takes time.
Takes time.
So I always encourage people, like, figure out what you can do right now. Right, not 75 hard. No knock on people that do that. Not some crazy diet. What can you do right now to make some changes?
Now, speaking of time as well, you know, in particular, you know, if many people use the excuse that they don't have enough time. What are kind of those at-home activities or products that people can use to kind of encourage to getting that start going to having a physical lifestyle? Yes.
That's another great question. The time thing, I hear that a lot, right? And I'm busy. I know you're super busy. It's like making time with what you have, right? So for our parents, because I have 2 kids, and I know that's a lot of work. Let me start there. But for our parents, you come home and let's say you got 30 minutes before the kids get home. You can move for those 30 minutes, right? So to your question, walking is a great activity. It takes nothing, no equipment, no gym membership to walk. You just go walk, right? It's cold outside now. We can walk around your house. If you have stairs, walk up and down the stairs, right? Getting steps in. And then everything that comes with the body weight movements. So squatting is obviously a great exercise at the gym. You don't have a squat rack, just air squat, right? So just use your body weight to squat. You can do push-ups, sit-ups. Got a band. We'll go over that here a bit later, but doing some band work. So basically just using what you have just to move your body. Because at the end of the day, the movement is what you need. You don't need some expensive, crazy gym just to move your body. You do that anywhere.
Gym membership.
Yeah.
Just need yourself.
Just need yourself. Move
Absolutely.
your body.
Now, how does consistency play a part in maintaining your health and wellness? Not even just the start of the year, but maintaining that all year long.
Yes. Consistency is the key to everything. Because it is the point I was making is when people set a New Year resolution, it's called New Year goal, New Year resolution. They want to accomplish it in January. That don't even make sense, right? So if your goal for the new year is to do X, Y, Z, you want to finish it all in January. Gotcha. So to your point, just stretching that out across months, right? Building out what it will look like. It won't take me 3 months to accomplish it, 6 months, whatever it may be. So that consistency piece is how often can you show up, right? And then showing up doesn't have to be 100%. I went all out every single time. It's just showing up. Right, so if you don't have time for the hour workout, do a 20-minute workout. You have time for a 20-minute workout, do a quick walk, but you're still showing up. Right. So that goes back to that point about stacking those small wins. Over time, it just becomes your habit, and that's what you do.
Right. I'm a big proponent and believer of just like getting 1% better every single day.
Yep.
I think that's just a huge factor in playing to all things New Year resolutions, whether it's fitness, wellness, mental health, whatever it can be.
That's right.
Speaking of that as well, when it comes to the mental health aspect of things, how do you feel social media plays a role in people either achieving or not achieving, handling, comparison, when it comes to just achieving their goals? Just how detrimental can that be to someone's mental well-being when they're constantly just looking at social media to kind of guide them through achieving those goals?
Yes. That's twofold. So it's good and bad, right? So social media, the cool thing about social media, it allows everyday people, like myself, for example, I can post content, which I do, and I can share meal prep ideas, exercises, and things like that. And they're just like, oh, that's Coach Coop. I see him all the time. He's doing that. Versus me looking at a professional bodybuilder, I'm like, oh, there's a reason he looked like that. That's his full-time job. So social media is positive in the sense of you can see everyday people doing cool things, right? But the issue with that is you see them doing the stuff on social media. That's not their day-to-day. Because I may post a workout on social media, and I'll be honest, it's for views and clicks, right? So, but it's crazy. It's clickbait, right? I want people to be like, oh, that's a cool movement. That's crazy. He can do that. I may do that once a month, right? But no one wants to see me warm up on a foam roller for 20 minutes. So that's the problem with social media is you see these things where it's like, oh, I need to do that workout because that's what he's doing. No, he's not. He's just doing that for the post. So the issue with that is people try to do these crazy things they see on social media. When not crazy, I mean like extreme workouts, crazy dieting, and it's not sustainable because the person that posted it, they don't do it every day. But then they end up getting injured. They're unmotivated because they're like, I've been doing his workout for a month. I don't look like him. Right, so it's like you're putting these standards that are fake. Because social media is a lot of social media is fake stuff. So yeah, you're following these things thinking it's gonna pay off for you, and it's not. So I always tell people like use it as a tool. Right, if there's someone you follow on social media, fitness influencers, what they call them or whatnot. Look at what they're putting out and take bits and pieces of it. Right, like if they're giving you some good tips, use it, but don't copy and paste every single thing because. What may work for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me.
Everybody's plan is different.
Everyone's different.
Absolutely. Now, oftentimes, many say it's not about what's on the scale is not what matters. You know, that number. Everybody's looking for that one particular number. But what is your take on this? Just what are examples of, again, you kind of talked about those non-scale wins in particular. How should people celebrate those non-scale wins as well?
Yes, that's a good question too, right? So I always tell people, especially when you're lifting weights. If you're lifting weights, what you should be, I'm trying not to rant about that, but I got hit on that for quick. But when people start a fitness journey, they lower their calories really low and they increase their cardio really high. Okay. So what they're doing is walking on treadmills, Stairmaster, elliptical, and all that, and they're eating basically nothing. Trust me, you will lose weight. You may not like what your body looks like. So when I tell people lift weights, but the thing with lifting weights is the scale's not going to move as quick as you may want it to be. But what's happening under the hood, you know, that's what we say in the fitness world, the muscle building, right? So you can be losing body fat and building muscle. What's going to happen is you're going to look different. Your clothes are going to feel better. For men, for the most part, the shoulder's going to look a little wider, chest going to look bigger. Women get more curvier, right? But the scale may not be moving, but you're looking better. That's those non-scale victories, right? How are your clothes fitting? Because I've had a client, he literally weighed 165 when we started. He was like 163 a couple months in. He looked completely different.
Wow.
Completely different, right? Clothes are tighter up top with the arms and chest. The waist part's looser. He had to go down in pant size. But if he was relying on a scale, he'd be like, oh, this is not working. Like, he didn't even use a scale. I used the scale when we checked in months later, but body looks different, energy's better. Those are the things you want to win with, because at the end of the day, you're not going to walk around with a scale like, hey, I weigh this amount. It's like what you look like, how you feel.
Yeah,
so that's the end goal. Focus on those things.
Of course. Now, going back to kind of the mental health aspect really quickly, though, I'm just curious, just in general, like, has it ever affected you personally? With you saying you've done this since high school, has there ever been those times of just feeling disencouraged in yourself as well? And what would you kind of tell people, or encourage them to do to get out there and just keep going?
Yes, that's a good question. I think since I've been out of the college kind of time frame, I've done like some type of competitive fitness thing. So I really got into CrossFit for a little bit. I was doing that for a really long time. Powerlifting, now I do bodybuilding. So the thing with doing all that is you have to compare, right? I try my hardest not to, but if I'm looking to win, I'm like, oh, what is this guy over here doing? Like, let me see what she got going on, right? So when I tell people not to compare, it's that. Don't compare where you're at to someone else, because it will mess with you, right? Because you never know if they've been working out for 10 plus years, you started 10 days ago, and you're like, I don't look like that, I'm gonna quit. That'll beat you down. Right? That'll beat you down. So to your question about the mental health part, just realize, like, if you're better than what you were yesterday, because you made that's quote about 1% better. I love that. Right? If you're better than you were yesterday, you're killing it.
Right.
Stop. Don't compare yourself to what you see and feel bad about yourself.
Exactly. Yes. Just keep pushing no matter what.
That's
and then let's discuss what's here on the table at the moment. So it's kind of about what it takes to get to that end goal. You know, you want to have a healthy diet and, of course, exercise. So just kind of tell us about some of the items up here, just kind of what they represent in that process.
That's right. It's my lunch. I'm so hungry. But no, but a lot of this is whole foods, right? Some of it's going to be processed. We got the protein bar, the jerky, things like that. But for the most part, it is full meals, right? So what I mean by that is a protein source, carb source, fat source. And we really want to capitalize on that when we're trying to lose weight, gain muscle. So what happens is, like I was saying, when people lower their calories, they're trying to do the teas and the juicing and the fasting. I lost 45 pounds. I was eating like 6 times a day.
6 times a day?
Yes. So when I told people you have to eat food, food is fuel.
Right.
Food gives you energy, so you try to do these workouts, but you're not eating anything, right? You want to build muscle, but muscle requires food, right? So you're not eating anything. So what I have going on here is just some examples of some things I would eat throughout the day. Like I said, that's actually my lunch. But so that's chicken, rice, and veggies. So that's a staple of mine. I just love the protein and carbs. Chicken and rice, super easy. Got some oats and protein powder. That's another one. So when people want to skip breakfast, they don't have time for breakfast, that's super easy. Throw that in the microwave, throw some protein on top. Tuna packs, super easy to go. High protein, 90 calories. Got that for $1.10 at the dollar store, so easy. Then a couple snacks here. My Jello, some oranges, banana, protein bars. So they're just, in between meetings, have some stuff going on, just need some food. But the thing is, you don't want to skip the meals. Right. So like I said, focus on high protein, minimum processed meals, and just there you go. Get the food in. And
then when it comes to exercise, you got the band here. Tell us just more about that and how simple just this one tool can really be in your progress.
Yes. So the band is a barbell, basically, right? So when people think of working out, you think of the gym, barbell, dumbbell, kettlebell. The band, you can do almost all of the things at the gym with the band. Obviously, it's going to be different, right? You can't overload the band. There's thicker bands. I have a different set of those. But you can get a thicker band, you can double it up. But for the most part, you can do a lot of things with the band. Some of that is, if we're doing some back work, you can do bent over row with the band. You can put the band on your shoulder, stand on it, squat with the band, right? You can raise it up, do some shoulder work. So essentially, it's really the tool that you need. So when I travel, I just throw that in my bag, get a quick little pump at the hotel, we're ready to go. Right, so
don't even need a gym.
Don't even need the gym. Yeah. So band work, body work, those are things you can do at home, anytime, anywhere. And like I said, it's super small, convenient. Just throw it in the car. Always have it with you.
Absolutely. And then finally, I have to ask, 2 final questions for you. For one, what are your 2025 New Year's resolutions?
Don't get me started. I got a lot. No. No. So on the health and wellness front, one is prioritized my mental health more, so I got back into therapy. So I always start there. Like, the mental health is key, right? Especially us in our community. Sometimes we push that to the side.
Absolutely.
So prioritize mental health, and then physical health wise, like I said, I compete in bodybuilding. My goal is to be a professional bodybuilder. So my next show is in August. Getting locked in on prep is what you call it in bodybuilding. So really want to shoot for that, and then just continuing to provide health and wellness to the community. Because really the reason I got into this is because I just want to teach people to not get scammed, right? Because there's so much stuff online. Try this program, lose 30 pounds in 30 days, right? Eat this, drink that. It's so scammy, right? So I just love putting out good information, good content for people to consume and really help their health and wellness goals.
Absolutely.
So that's where we're at.
Great work you're doing in the community, for sure. And then finally, you do personal training as well. So tell us more about where people can find you and, what more they can get in contact with. Coach Coop.
Yes. So 2 things. So I do a lot of online coaching. You can reach out to me at accomplish.goals.fitness on Instagram. There's a coaching link in there. Apply, I'll reach out, we'll get going. And then the second point is I also do coaching at my friend, my business partner's gym, Coy Jackson. Shout out to Coy. Great coach as well. That's Quiet Strength Health and Performance. That's actually located in South Park Mall, right? So same thing there. If you want to, we do classes there too. So if personal training is not your thing, you can come in with a class, got a community of people to support you through it. Always great. But same thing here. If you want to reach out to me, I get you on the phone so that we can decide if online is better for you. We want to meet in person. So that's what I like to do, get that consultation out there. And that's for free, right?
Awesome.
So you want to just reach out just to talk to me about health and wellness, love to do that. So at accomplish.goals.fitness on Instagram.
All right. Awesome. Well, look at information there, great tips, and lots of good information there for people to achieve their New Year's goals, for sure. Thank you so much for joining me, Coach Coop.
Yes.
And that wraps it up.
Thanks for having me.
Finally, Jasmine Butler sat down with Jennifer Kitsis from Mercy One Genesis to discuss shocking statistics, important resources, and a program for early detection of breast and cervical cancer available to Quad City residents.
Today I have Jenny Kitsis, who is the Women's Health Grant Program Specialist with Mercy One Genesis. Jenny, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's jump right in. So let's first remind our viewers about the state and local statistics of breast cancer and ovarian cancer.
So I'm going to concentrate more on breast cancer and cervical cancer because that's what my program covers. But some statistics, they're not good. Iowa has the second highest rate of cancer incidence in the country. And Clinton County, unfortunately, has the highest mortality rate for breast cancer in the state of Iowa.
Wow.
So it's not good. Another statistic is that according to the American Cancer Society, the mortality rate for Black women is higher than other women of ethnic backgrounds. Yeah. So that's why we're here.
That's nationwide.
That's nationwide.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. That's just a few. You can get a lot more statistics on the Iowa Cancer Registry for the state of Iowa. They have very detailed down to county. So that's just a few of the statistics.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very important information.
Absolutely.
So why is it important for women to get screened, and what are some symptoms and risk factors to watch for?
So it's important for women to get screened because the earlier we can catch the cancer, the better your probability is, the easier treatment usually is. For example, if we catch breast cancer early, you have a 99% chance of beating it and surviving.
Mm-hmm. So what are some different things that, for our viewers, what are some different things that they can do like at home to, what they should be worried about, or some suspicious feelings or of that nature?
So the best thing your viewers can do is to know their body. They should be checking their breasts at least monthly, looking for lumps, rashes, discharge, anything unusual. But they should definitely be partnering with their doctor and making sure they're getting their mammograms once they turn 40. And if they have a family history or they're gene positive for a BRCA gene, they should start their mammograms earlier than 40. And we are finding that Black women, unfortunately, they are getting breast cancer at a younger age. So just to know your body and make sure you're getting your screening done for breast cancer.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what that age is for Black women?
They're finding it as young, an average age is 30. You have to really get a relationship with your primary care physician and let them help you through that, and make sure you let them know your family history and maybe consider gene testing as well.
So what are some of the risk factors?
So some of the risk factors are your family history. And then if your family carries the BRCA gene, that is a risk factor which increases your chance of getting breast cancer. We're finding that the statistics are starting to find that women of African descent carry that gene more, and definitely Ashkenazi Jewish descent as well. That gene testing can be done at Mercy One Genesis. We offer it here. And so that's a little bit, those are some of the risk factors as well.
Yeah, and so just for clarification, so the program itself wouldn't cover for that. That is something that one would have to kind of do their own research through Mercy One Genesis to get to find out if they carry that gene.
To get the genetic testing done and to see if their insurance covers it as well.
So what is the Care for Yourself program?
So the Care for Yourself program is an Iowa-led program. They do have this program all over the country, and it's called different things. But what it does is it helps underinsured and uninsured women who meet a certain economic threshold get free mammograms, free cervical cancer screening. So
that's super cool. And who qualifies for the Care for Yourself program?
You have to be between the ages of 21 and 64. Like I said, you have to you have to be uninsured or underinsured, and you have to be within a certain economic threshold.
Okay. And then, so what if someone doesn't qualify?
Call me or the person that I work with, Terry. We have other programs that we can possibly put you in touch with that might have different specifications that might get you what you need. So definitely reach out.
And then are there similar programs in Illinois? Because we focused on Iowa here. That's where where your office is located at. Right. So how do we help our viewers who are Illinois residents?
So Illinois has a similar program called cervical and breast cancer program, and it's out of the Rock Island Health Department, and they have, like I said, a similar program, and you can contact them as well. We'll have their information on the screen. But yes, you can reach out to the Rock Island Health Department and tell them you're looking for breast and cervical cancer screening, or you can call us and we'll give you their number.
Okay. So call Jenny. Call Jenny. So how many clinics are available here in our area?
A lot. So basically, Care for Yourself contracts with the local facilities and hospitals. So every Mercy One Genesis facility is contracted with us, Unity Point, Community Health Care, and in Clinton County, the Women's Health Clinic as well. Basically, anybody that cares about serving the underserved is going to be contracted with the Care for Yourself program.
So how can our viewers get more information to determine if they qualify for the Care for Yourself program?
They can contact myself at 563-421-3081 or my colleague Terry Poole at 563-421-1913, and we will ask them a few questions. We make it super easy, see if they qualify. If they do, we will send them a consent packet. When they mail it back, we send them a voucher. If they need help finding a contracted facility in the area, we'll send them that as well. It's very easy, and please make sure you let people know about it.
Yeah. So based off of our conversations too, so there is so many opportunities that this program offers. And I know we do have a few people who have been through this program before, and I look forward to learning more about their journey and later conversations that we will be having. And I look forward to finding out how this program works throughout the year.
Thank you. I do too. And I appreciate your support and having me on today. This outreach is crucial. We really need to make sure that money is not an issue for people getting their testing done. So Thank you for having me on.
Yes, thank you.
Now remember, If you happen to break your resolution by January 3rd, just know that's tradition for most of us. Thank you for joining us this episode of Real Conversations in collaboration with the Lincoln Center.
Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Essentra Credit Union.